I lived in a small town for a while, around 3 years ago. I was 32 and trying to find peace after a rough breakup. My new routine included wandering to the local church. It felt calming there, a quiet place to think and clear my mind. One evening, as I was leaving the church, I noticed a girl standing at the entrance. She wore an old-fashioned dress that looked too big for her small frame. Her eyes were wide and unblinking. Something about her seemed off, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I approached her, wanting to ask if she was okay, but before I could speak, she vanished. One moment she was there, and the next, just gone. I stood frozen, confused and scared. In the weeks that followed, I spotted her again. I would see her near the church or in the park. Each time, my heart would race. I thought maybe she was just a trick of my mind, a ghost of the stress I had been under. The unsettling part was that she whispered to others, but they never seemed to notice her. It left me feeling uneasy, like I was trapped in my own nightmare. After a while, the townspeople started acting strangely toward me. When I tried to ask them about the girl, their faces grew tense, like I'd crossed some kind of line. They avoided my gaze, and I felt a chill run down my spine. It was as if they were hiding something. I didn't know what to think. Was I losing my grip on reality? One evening, I saw her again. She stood there, motionless. I wanted to call out, but fear gripped me. My heart pounded in my chest like a hammer. I could see the other people around us, glancing in her direction but pretending she wasn't there. It made me feel like I was the only one seeing her. I wanted to scream, to shake someone awake, to tell them I wasn't imagining things. Time passed, and days blurred together. I continued to catch glimpses of her, but she always seemed further away, more elusive. I tried to convince myself I was just tired, maybe stressed out about the move. But deep down, I knew that wasn't the case. Then, one night, she whispered something to me. I was too frightened to ask her what she said. It felt like ice running through my veins. I was overwhelmed and cold all over. Then she turned and walked away, vanishing like she always did. I wished I could chase after her, but it felt wrong. After that night, as I walked home from the church, I heard someone call my name. I spun around, but no one was there. It left me with a sinking feeling that I couldn't shake off. I had hoped it was just exhaustion, but the dread stayed with me like a shadow. I still don't understand what happened that night. I think about that girl all the time. I wonder if she was real or just a figment of my imagination. Was she a ghost? Or did the town know something I didn't? I guess I'll always wonder. I decided to confront my fears. The townspeople's silence was eating at me. I couldn't shake the feeling that they knew something about the girl they weren't telling me. I made a plan to gather information. I thought the best approach was to talk to the bartender at the local pub. Maybe he had seen her too. The next evening, I walked into the dimly lit bar. The familiar smell of beer and fried food surrounded me. I took a seat at the bar, my heart racing as I ordered a drink. I took a deep breath, steeling myself to ask about the girl. I tried to appear casual. Hey, you know that old church up the road? I started. The bartender nodded. Sure, everyone does. He wiped a glass, eyeing me cautiously. I've seen a girl near there, I continued. A girl in a strange dress. Do you know who she is? The bartender's expression changed immediately. He stilled, and I could see the blood drain from his face. I wouldn't go asking about her, he said, his voice low. Why not? I pressed. What do you mean? He glanced around, then leaned in closer. Some things are better left alone. Trust me, don't dig too deep. Unease settled in my gut. I could feel heat rushing into my cheeks. It was exactly what I feared. It felt like a warning, an urgency to retreat. I wanted answers, but there was something about his tone that made me hesitate. I left the bar feeling hollow. What was it about this girl that had everyone so scared? I needed to understand. When I got home, I sat in silence, wrestling with my thoughts. The whispers and the town's strange behavior floated in my mind. Later that night, I tried to sleep. I tossed and turned, pulled into the darkness by troubling images. But then I awoke to soft whispering. I was sure I was dreaming until I realized it was coming from outside my window. With a pounding heart, I crept to the window, peering out into the darkness. The street lamp flickered, casting an eerie glow. And there, in the faint light, I saw her, the girl from the church. She stood at the edge of my yard, staring at me, her expression unreadable. My breath caught in my throat. "Help me," she mouthed, the words barely a whisper. Panic surged through me. I felt paralyzed, caught between wanting to rush outside and the instinct to stay hidden. My mind raced. What did she need help with? Why was she here instead of the church? As I looked closer, the shadows around her seemed to thicken, pooling like ink. I blinked, and suddenly she was gone, as though she had never been there at all. My heart raced as I stumbled back away from the window. I couldn't breathe. I wanted answers now, but the fear of what I might uncover deepened. It was dark. The whispers persisted, and I could feel their pull. Would I confront this girl again? Or would I bury myself in the safety of ignorance? That's when I heard a soft knock at the front door. It was too late to turn back now. I stood frozen, heart pounding in my chest. The knock came again, more insistent this time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to retreat back into the safety of my room, but another part craved answers. I took a deep breath, telling myself it could just be a neighbor, maybe someone lost. I approached the door slowly, each step a battle against the dread that threatened to wash over me. I peered through the peephole. The dim hallway outside was empty. My pulse quickened. Was it really just a neighbor? Then I opened the door a crack. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling slightly. Silence. I was about to close it when I heard a soft whisper. "Please, let me in." It was her voice. My stomach dropped. I flung the door open fully, and there she stood on my porch, the girl from the church, her pale dress almost glowing under the porch light. She looked more real than I remembered, but fear still clawed at my insides. "Why are you here?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I need your help," she replied, her eyes wide and pleading. "They won't let me go." "Who won't?" I stumbled over my words. My mind raced, trying to process what this meant. She glanced over her shoulder, fear creeping into her features. "Please, we have to hurry. The darkness is coming for me." I stepped aside, hesitant but also compelled. "Come in, quick." She slipped inside and I closed the door just in time. I was overwhelmed with a mix of fear and instinct. The girl looked around my living room, her gaze darting nervously as if she expected something to pounce from the shadows. "What do you mean, the darkness?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's hard to explain," she said, taking a deep breath. "It's tied to the church. There's something that won't let me leave." "What happened to you?" "I was trapped." She shivered, wrapping her arms around herself. "They were watching me. The townspeople, they know. They always said if I didn't listen, if I didn't obey, I would pay the price." A chill ran down my spine. "The bartender warned me. He said, things are better left alone." Her eyes locked onto mine. "Then you know." "You shouldn't have asked." "But I couldn't wait any longer. I need you to help me uncover the truth." Every instinct told me to turn away, but something about her words gripped me. "What can I do?" "There's a book hidden in the church," she said urgently. "It contains the answers, but you must be careful. They're always watching." I could hardly process this. A hidden book? Answers? But it felt larger than me, like a heavy curtain shrouding everything I sought to know. Then, I heard it again, the soft whispering from outside. My skin prickled. It was unlike anything I had heard before. "They're here," she gasped, her face draining of color. "We have to go, now." Before I could argue, she darted toward the window. I followed, and my heart sank as I saw figures moving in the darkness, silhouettes emerging from the trees. There were more than I expected, all of them watching, waiting. I turned to the girl. What do we do? Trust me, she said fiercely. We have to face them or we'll never get the truth. I hesitated for a split second, but a surge of determination took hold. I had come this far, and now there was no turning back. But as we turned to the door, I realized it was locked. I fumbled with the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers grew louder, echoing around the room, filling me with dread. Then everything went dark. I couldn't see anything. Darkness swallowed the room, but I could feel the girl's presence beside me, her breath quick and uneven. I reached out, trying to calm my racing heart. What is happening? I whispered, the sound almost lost in the suffocating silence. There's a power here, she said, barely above a whisper. They can take the light. We have to move. She grabbed my hand, and as if on cue, a flicker of light broke through the shadows. I squinted, trying to make sense of the scene. The room was still intact, but the atmosphere felt charged, as if it were alive. Suddenly, the door rattled violently, sending jolts of panic through me. What do we do? I stammered, my grip tightening around her wrist. We need to find the book. The light will guide us, she said urgently. Before I could ask where to look, the lights flashed back on, illuminating the living room in harsh reality. I blinked against the sudden brightness. The girl was staring wide-eyed at the door now, her body tense. I followed her gaze. Shadows began pressing against the glass, dark figures shifting just beyond the threshold. I couldn't just stand by, so I lunged for the door, hoping to escape. No! She cried. We can't let them in. I froze. The door handle rattled again, this time louder, as if someone was trying to break it down. What do you mean, we can't let them in? They are the ones who imprisoned me, she said, her voice trembling. They'll take you too. A wave of dread washed over me. I couldn't think clearly. But I want to help you. My words hung in the air as the door suddenly stopped rattling. Silence fell like a thick blanket. I held my breath, straining to hear something, anything. Then I noticed a faint sound, like soft chanting seeping through the wood. What are they saying? I asked, leaning closer, heart racing. It's a warning, she whispered. They're reminding me of my debt. The sacrifices. I narrowed my eyes at her. Sacrifices? What debt? A new layer of fear settled in my stomach. Things I must do to be free. You can't be a part of this. Then how can I help you? I asked desperately. As if answering my question, the lights flickered again, this time dimming to a low glow. I caught a glimpse of something glinting on the bookshelf behind her. My eyes widened. The book? Yes, but it's not safe. If they realize you have it, they'll come for you too. The chanting grew louder, echoing inside my head. I had drowned out so much noise for years, but now I felt the urgency spark something in me. I'll take the risk, I said, stepping toward the shelf. Just as I reached for the book, the door burst open. The force slammed it against the wall, revealing figures cloaked in darkness, their faces obscured. I turned to the girl. We have to go. But she stood frozen, her eyes wide, as if she were being beckoned back into the shadows. I felt an icy grip on my heart. What are you waiting for? We have to. Then, something cold wrapped around my ankle, pulling me backward. I stumbled, falling hard. The last thing I saw before everything went black again was the girl's horrified expression as the darkness closed in. I gasped as I came to, the air sharp in my lungs. I was lying on the cold floor, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. Confusion wrapped around me as I struggled to remember what had just happened. The girl. The door. The darkness. I blinked rapidly, trying to take in my surroundings. The living room was still there, but everything felt different. The shadows were deeper, somehow more alive. The faint chanting echoed in my ears, but now it was mingled with a rhythmic thumping. It sounded like distant footsteps. I pushed myself up, my body trembling as I scanned the room. The girl was gone. Panic washed over me. Where are you? I called out, my voice shaky. I felt incredibly alone, the oppressive silence pressing in on me. Find the light, a voice whispered, and I jerked my head towards the kitchen. It was familiar, an echo of something I'd heard before. I crept toward it, drawn in like a moth to a flame. My mind raced. Was the voice my own? Hadn't the girl said something similar? In the kitchen, the light flickered timidly overhead. I noticed a shadow moving in the corner of my eye. I turned, heart racing, and saw the book sitting at the edge of the dining table, its leather cover worn but somehow glowing with a soft light. Relief and fear warred within me as I approached it. It can't be safe, I muttered under my breath. But something compelled me. I stretched out my hand, fingers brushing against the cover. It felt warm, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. As I opened it, the pages revealed strange symbols and diagrams, swirling patterns that seemed to twist and shift before my eyes. My breath caught in my throat. This was more than just a book, it was something powerful. I could sense it. But the chanting had grown louder, a cacophony of voices merging, a warning, a demand. I stumbled back, clutching the book tightly. What do you want from me? I shouted, but my voice faded into the growing noise. Then, without warning, the kitchen windows shattered, shards of glass raining down around me. Dark figures spilled through, their forms twisting and writhing like smoke. I could hardly breathe, my thoughts racing, sensing something dark lurking just behind me. I could feel the tug of the shadows again, wrapping around my legs like icy tendrils. I fought against it, adrenaline surging, and clutched the book tighter. No. Not again. But the shadows didn't relent. They pulled harder, dragging me backwards toward the darkness. Desperation ignited my resolve. I won to be a sacrifice. Just as I thought that, light flared from the book, illuminating the room with an intense glow. The figures recoiled from the brightness, but I felt a strange power rise within me. I focused on the light, willing it to push them away. That's when I saw a glimpse of the girl standing just beyond the chaos, watching me with an expression I couldn't read. Was she trying to warn me, or was this all part of her plan? Then everything went dark. The rush of shadows spun around me, drowning me in their cold embrace. I gasped again, but no sound came. Panic surged as I realized I was no longer sure of where I was or what was happening. I blinked, desperate to clear the darkness from my vision. It felt like my body had been yanked through a tunnel, and when I regained my senses, I found myself in a small, dimly lit room. The air was heavy with the scent of damp wood and something organic I couldn't quite place. My heart thudded as I sat up, trying to take in my surroundings. The walls were lined with bookshelves filled to the brim with ancient-looking tomes. A single flickering candle illuminated the space, casting long shadows that danced along the walls. I hated how they seemed to move independently, as if they had a mind of their own. I shot to my feet, my pulse racing. The book. I had it clutched tightly in my hands. I quickly flipped through the pages, the symbols blurring together as I fought to stay focused. Some were incomprehensible, while others suddenly struck a chord within me. One specific diagram featured a circle with intricate designs surrounding it, and in the center, a radiant sun. Find the light. The voice echoed back in my memory, but where was it? Suddenly, a loud bang reverberated through the room, jolting me back to the moment. I jumped, spinning around. The door I hadn't noticed before swung open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows. My breath hitched as I squinted, trying to differentiate between the person and the darkness surrounding them. It took a moment, but the fear began to dissipate. The figure had a familiar silhouette. I breathed out, recognizing the girl from my previous encounter. She stepped further into the light, her expression a mix of urgency and determination. I can help you, she said, but her voice felt strangely distant. I felt another tug at the edges of my consciousness. You need to trust me. Trust you? I retorted, still holding the book tightly. You brought all of this. What's going on? The shadows began to creep back toward us, their hissing whispers ringing in my ears. I knew I had to act. We don't have time for this, I insisted, my voice hardening. What do we do? Those things we need to perform the ritual, she interrupted urgently. It's the only way to close the door. A ritual? My mind spun with confusion. What ritual? This ISNTA game. The air crackled with tension as the shadows inched closer, hungry for something I didn't understand. The book. It contains the instructions. Her eyes darted nervously as she glanced back at the swirling shapes. Open it to the page with the circle. I hesitated, glancing at the book in my hands, then back at her. But what if this goes wrong? Right now, we have no choice, she insisted, urgency etched across her face. Her voice dropped, becoming a whisper. If we fail, they claim you. My resolve hardened. I flipped through the pages, seeking the diagram she had mentioned. The whispering shadows intensified, a reminder of the threat looming over me. Finally, I found it. The circle glowed faintly beneath my fingertips, and I felt the warmth grow within me. I glanced up, catching her gaze as we stood on opposite sides, the girl and I, united in uncertainty. Now, she urged. I closed my eyes, whispering the words written in the text. I felt the power coursing through me, and that was when the shadows shrieked. Before I could register what was happening, they surged forward, a tide of darkness threatening to drown us both. I could only hold my breath and hope that the light would protect us. The moment I began to speak the words from the book, the shadows lunged at us. I could feel their presence, cold and invasive, wrapping around my body like chains. I pressed harder onto the page, the warmth now sizzling under my fingertips. Keep going. The girl urged, a tremor in her voice. Her eyes widened, glistening with fear, and for the first time, I could see the panic beneath her determination. What if it doesn't work? I stammered, fear creeping back into my voice. The shadows began to twist and writhe, forcing me to pay attention to their dark shapes. I glanced at the girl, trying to catch her gaze for reassurance, but all I saw was the urgency in her expression. We can't let them in. Just trust the words. She yelled over the cacophony of whispers. I took a deep breath and did my best to drown out the noise. I stumbled through the incantation again, my voice rising to meet the chaos around us. With each word, the shadows recoiled, but I could feel them pushing back. It was a fight, and I wondered if I was strong enough. Suddenly, the room began to tremble. Books fell from the shelves, crashing to the ground. I yelped, almost losing my grip on the book, but I held on tighter, seeking the reassurance of its solid presence. Please, please work. I whispered, then it happened. A brilliant light erupted from the circle on the page, blinding in its intensity. I could hardly comprehend the sudden shift. It poured from the book like molten gold, pushing against the darkness like a shield. The shadows hissed and writhed, recoiling further away. My heart raced as I felt a surge of power course through me, fueled by fear and desperation. Don't stop. Keep going. The girl shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos and demanding my attention, but just as I continued, something shifted. The light wasn't just illuminating the room, it was starting to draw on the shadows, pulling them toward the circle as if they were being vacuumed into another realm. This is insane. I thought, fear wrapping around me again. I had to control it. I focused harder, pushing with the incantation, and that's when I noticed it. Out of the corner of my eye, a figure deeper in the shadows emerged. It was human-shaped, but darker than the blackness surrounding it. My heart sank as I realized this was no ordinary shadow. Stop! The girl screamed, her eyes wide with horror. I turned to see her face pale as she pointed at the encroaching figure. I stumbled backward, faltering in my words. The light flickered. That was when I comprehended something that twisted my insides. This wasn't merely about the shadows trying to invade, this creature was watching us, studying us. Focus. Just finish. She urged, but all I could do was stare. Then, a chilling realization struck me. The creature wasn't just an enemy, it was something more. Something familiar. Wait. I blurted out before raising my voice to continue the incantation. But my mind raced with questions. Who or what was it? The light surged again, but my uncertainty lingered like a dark cloud. As it swallowed the shadows, it felt like I was losing a part of myself. The light burst from the book, illuminating every corner of the room, yet it felt like a fragile barrier against the consuming darkness. I could see the shadowy figure clearly now, its face hidden in obscurity, but I sensed its gaze piercing through, as if it knew all my fears and doubts. "Finish the incantation," the girl shouted again, her voice strained. I could hear the panic rising in her words. I turned back to the page, the text almost glowing in my grasp, desperate to regain control over the chaotic energy swirling around us, but the shadows were still twisted in their torment, thrashing against the light. A wave of dread washed over me. Would this work? I couldn't allow myself to hesitate. I closed my eyes for a second, summoning every ounce of courage left. "Powers of light," I recited. "Bind the darkness." My voice wavered but grew louder with each phrase, the words clawing into the atmosphere, landing with weight. I felt the warmth pushing back against the cold and awful presence. As I kept chanting, the figure stepped closer, pulling me deeper into despair. I tried to focus purely on the words, but that familiar, fragile sensation gnawed at the edges of my mind. Everything about that shape set off alarms I couldn't ignore. "Listen!" I called out, breaking my concentration despite myself. "It looks like someone I know." The girl shot me a bewildered glance, and I could see her confusion. "You can't think about that now. It's not just a shadow." I interrupted, my heart racing. "I swear, it could be someone from my past." "I have to." The girl grabbed my arm, her grip firm. "No. You need to focus on the light. It's the only way to stop this." For a moment, the shadows fell silent, hovering as if they sensed the tension. Then I realized something darker. This creature was not merely drawn to me, it was hungry, searching, and it was more than a representation of my past. I could see the flicker of memories within that shadowy exterior, ones that I had buried deep. "Why are you here?" I shouted to the figure, fighting against my own rising fear. "What do you want from me?" A whisper curled through the air, unsettling and enticing, as the shadows around it pulsed like a heartbeat. "You know me," it seemed to say, its voice carrying an echo of familiarity. "You can't deny me." Panic seized me once more, and I turned back to the incantation, but my voice faltered. The light around us dimmed slightly, waning in strength. The shadows began to push forward even more, threatening to consume everything. Desperately, I shouted, "Stand back." I held the book high, focusing all my will into one last desperate command: mend the darkness with the light. The brilliance swelled, and then everything went dark. The shadows collided with the light, a chaos of sound enveloping us, and I felt myself being pulled into the void. In that moment, I was overwhelmed by everything: the light, the figure, the chaos, but most of all, by the whisper, an echo of a girl I thought I'd forgotten. Then, silence. The darkness thickened, and I lost all sense of direction. I gasped as light flickered back into existence, but it was different now. The room was gone. I stood in a white void, nothing around me but a haze that twisted and swirled. My heart raced as I tried to understand where I was. My hands gripped the book, still warm but somehow heavier in this strange space. "Hello?" I called out, my voice swallowed by the stillness. The only response was the echo of my own words. Panic surged within me. Had the incantation sent me to some limbo? I took a hesitant step forward, my feet landing softly on an unseen surface. "Is anyone here?" I asked again, my voice shaking. There was no answer, just the oppressive silence that wrapped around me like a shroud. Then I noticed a figure emerging from the haze. It moved slowly, deliberately, as if tethered to a distant memory. The shadows pressed against the edges of my vision, and I instinctively took a step back, holding the book tighter. "Who are you?" I shouted, feeling a surge of anger mixed with fear. The figure paused, tilting its head in inclination that sent chills down my spine. It looked shifting, as if it was trying to form into someone or something recognizable. I squinted, focusing harder on the shape, and then I saw it. Long hair. Tattered clothing. A familiar but hauntingly distorted face. "No," I mumbled, my heart sinking. "It can't be you. Why did you forget me?" The voice was soft yet piercing, an echo of something I had buried deep inside. A memory that raked at my mind like jagged nails. "Stop! You're not real!" I shouted, shaking my head violently. But my protests fell flat, extinguished by the truth that swirled around us. This was her, the girl I had seen 3 years ago in front of the church, the one who had vanished without a trace, leaving me with questions I never answered. "It's time to face me," she said, her voice crackling with an urgency that ignited the shadows between us. "You sealed me away just like the book. You don't have to run anymore." I backed away, panic gripping me tightly. For 3 years, I pushed this memory away, told myself it was just my imagination. But here she was, woven back into the fabric of reality, dragging everything I had tried so hard to forget into the light. "Breathe," I told myself. I needed to get control back. The book felt warm again, as if it was responding to my fear. "You can't be real," I insisted, clenching my fists. "But I am," she said, moving closer, the shadows swirling around her. "You need to remember. You need to understand the whole truth." I shook my head, desperately searching for a way out. The white void swallowed my pleas, amplifying my fear. "What do you want from me?" I yelled, my voice trembling. Then, all at once, something shifted. The air thickened, the shadows growing restless, circling us like a tempest. It felt as if the very space around us was alive, closing in with ominous intent. That's when I saw it, eyes, more than one, glimmering like shards of glass in the dark. They blinked open one by one, revealing more distorted faces, lost in longing. My heart thundered with terror. "What are those?" The girl smiled, a sad, knowing smile. "Those are the ones you let down." Before I could process what she meant, the figures surged forward, and the darkness closed in around us. My body froze as I faced a rush of memories drowned in regret, fear, and the urge to escape. Then everything went black again. I awoke on the living room floor, panting and disoriented. Light streamed through the windows, dispelling the shadows that had chased me. I scrambled to my feet, heart racing, taking in the familiar surroundings. Nothing seemed out of place, no dark figures lurking in the corners. But the air felt different, charged, alive. Scrambling back to the table, I clutched the book, its pages fluttering open in my grasp as if eager to reveal their secrets. The symbols danced vividly in my mind, echoing the revelations that rushed at me like a flood. "The truth," I whispered to myself, my voice trembling. I staggered to the nearest window, the sun's rays stretching into the room. They felt warm against my skin, a stark contrast to the frigid grip of despair I had just battled. I turned my gaze outward, scanning the street below. The town appeared as it always had, with children playing and neighbors greeting one another in passing. But there was something unsettling in that normalcy. The whispers returned, a faint chorus of muted voices, swirling around me. "Find the light," they urged, but I hardly felt afraid. Instead, a strange sense of resolve filled me, a conviction that maybe I was not alone in this fight. I looked down at the book, sitting heavily in my palm. The memories of that haunting girl flooded back into my mind. It was her, my past, an unwelcome guest creeping back in. "I didn't forget you," I murmured, tinged with guilt. "I just ran." "What happened to you?" I pondered out loud, wrestling with the urge to reach out, to draw her into the light I felt pulsing through me now. The ambiguity of her existence stirred within me. Was she a figment of my imagination or some painful remnant of my mistakes? It still perplexed me, an unsettling shroud draped over my thoughts, but the urgency was dissipating. With a deep breath, I took the book and sat cross-legged on the floor. I opened it again, determined to confront the truth buried within those pages. The symbols shifted slightly, guiding my eyes to passages that seemed to call to me specifically. As I traced over the words with my fingers, I couldn't help but wonder if they might set hundreds of spirits free or if they would bind me in darkness forever. Much like the girl I had seen, I heard distant laughter from outside, the cacophony of everyday life swirling just beyond my walls. That laughter felt like a stark contrast to everything I had endured, the weight of despair, the grip of shadows. I pushed myself to my feet, feeling lighter than I had in days. The sunlight pouring into the room made me feel as if I was breaking through layers of darkness. Should I tell someone about the girl, about the shadows? The thought made my heart race again. Would they believe me? Or would I be met with the same fearful gazes? But what if she was still trapped? A ripple of guilt surged through me, strong enough to make me take a deep breath and make up my mind. I resolved to return to the church later that day. After all, the girl had asked for help. But as I stood by the door, ready to step outside, I glanced back at the book. Would the power within it protect me? Or would it attract the darkness again? I swallowed hard, unsure of the reality I would face. Once outside, I walked toward the church, every step carrying a mixture of anxious excitement and dread. The compulsion to uncover her truth pulled at me. Would I find her ethereal presence darting in and out of sight, or had I truly left that darkness behind? As I approached the church, the very air felt thick with anticipation. The doors stood ajar, inviting yet menacing. I hesitated, a flurry of thoughts racing through my mind, grappling with the knowledge that whatever lay ahead might not be what I expected. I pushed the doors open, and the sunlight streamed in behind me, my lifeline in a world of shadow. "Help me," I whispered to the empty chapel, my heart caught in knots. It was time to confront the lingering question: was the girl still there, or had I lost that connection too? Would I find her again? Or was this my journey to confront whom I had lost, maybe even to save myself in the process? I stepped forward, the echo of footsteps resonating in the stillness as the whispers swirled around me, an endless melody of the past and a promise of the unknown. Reality blurred in that moment, the answers I craved floated just beyond my grasp. And as the heavy doors creaked behind me, I couldn't tell if the shadows had truly vanished or if they lurked, waiting in the dark corners of my mind and in the corners of my heart.